Let's go. I've been there, I've done that. Hey, but what do I know? I wrote this and won that. Oh, but what do I know? I got degrees and went to school. But what do I know? Survived backstabbers and Judases. But what do I know? I've been out here, man. I've been doing it. He's like, where'd he go? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of But What Do I Know podcast. It's your girl, Rukus.
And your boy, Trey Smith. Two things today. I'm going to start my lock journey next month. And Kevin Hart makes amazing tequila. It's amazing, smooth.
Yeah. Okay, first we're gonna start with that's some light skin shit to announce, your plans for your hair and stuff like that, and it's a whole month away. He wasn't gonna be next month. Like, after Halloween. What are you doing for Halloween that requires you to keep your hair like this?
I'm gonna dress up like Snoop Dogg in the Gin and Juice video.
Is that really what you read?
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg?
Yeah, at the beginning when he was going to get his hair braided, and then those girls started fighting and then blamed the fight on him.
Yeah. Well, because the thing is, I knew there had to be something for the hair. Because nobody postpones hair changes. So it's like, a month from now, I'm going to do this. I'm like, there must be a plan in the interim, because that's some weird shit to do that and be like, a month from now, I'm going to do something to my hair.
After my Gin and Juice costume, then boom, lock journey.
Yeah, no, I'm keeping my little extensions for a little while myself, and that's only Halloween related. I need this for my costume, and so that's the only reason I'm keeping these. And I'll go back to my locks. That's the dumb part now. Like, I'm gonna take off the fake locks and come back to my locks.
It's gonna get real for you.
Anyways, let's dive into this week's show. So this show is special to me because I really thought about this was inspired by a conversation I had with my daughter when she actually came home and explained to me that. This is my 5-year-old, mind you, my 12-year-old, she don't really care about none of this. Like, now, my 5-year-old said that she came home and she reported that one of her friends had got into a fight, so to speak, in class. And so when I asked her what is a fight, she said they hit each other. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, well, what happened? She said, nothing. I said, okay, well, that works. I said, the teacher didn't get involved. The kids just hit each other. And she said, yes. I said, okay, cool. I get it. So the next day, I get to her school, and I see the little boy that had hit someone. And I guess when the teacher's standing outside, the little boy comes up, and he finally tells the teacher, hey, so-and-so hit me. And it's a little girl, right? He's like, so-and-so hit me. And the teacher's like, well, when did she hit you? He said today, because he's 5 and kids don't know, the kids don't know the days and stuff yet. They're not aware yet of time and how to explain stuff. So he's today. So she said, well, why didn't you say anything? You should have made sure you came and told me that she hit you. And he said, well, shit, I done already hit her back now. And so, understand. So, with me witnessing this and already knowing, so because my daughter already told me, I knew the time frame it happened. I knew it happened the day before. So, I knew a lot of different things about this scenario. Now, we're going to come back to that in a little while because that scenario really did inspire quite a few of my questions that I have today. Now, today's topic is educators versus parents, okay? I want to know who knows best about the way that we're raising our kids and the things that we're doing before we send them out into society. So, we like, subject matter experts on, but what do I know? Because I'm not an educator. So, I wanted to find a little bit of a twist. We always have people out there who don't have children saying, this is how you actually should be raising your kids. And a lot of us parents, we take offense to that because we're like, you don't have kids. Fuck do you know about how to raise my kids? However, this is an educator who does not have children, but her whole job is to pretty much raise yours. So,
that's a nice way to put it.
These perspectives are very important, and that's why I want to see versus we're gonna get some perspectives of someone whose job it is to still rear our children, help raise our children. However, she doesn't have any of her own. So we're going to see how this goes. And if you have any perspectives or any questions, please make sure you comment so that we can address your questions. So I'm going to just say her name's Diamond, but I'm going to let her get a chance to introduce yourself. Is there anything you want to say to them before we dive into this?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for calling me an expert. That made me feel real good. Yes, my name is Diamond, and I am an educator here in the Denver metro area.
Okay. Nice. She's got experience, guys. Not like educator for how long? Because she looks like she just graduated for this yesterday. So she's got 5 years of experience. Yes. She is an ECE teacher, so she makes sure she helps with the ages where they're learning right from wrong. So this is very important at this stage. Okay. My daughter, like I said, is a little bit 12. She knows everything. There's nothing else that I can possibly teach this child. She believes she's grown at 12, and one of the questions we get to later is whether or not 12 is a little late to finally start getting involved with some of these things. So, you want to start with any of your questions before because mine off the chain. It's going to be, but I'm going to let my co-host.
I tried to keep it solid, and not get too wild. I want to ask you, like, as a teacher, what made you want to step, or as an educator, what made you want to step into the role?
I think what made me want to step into the role of education was my mom one time made a phrase that kids are like sponges. And so ever since then, that kind of just stuck with me. And then I'm like, if kids can pick up everything, why not be somebody who pours in positivity into them and self-love and, just encouragement as a teacher. So that's what really made me do it. And also I chose ECE in particular because I feel like they're at that age where they're just the most spongy, like the brain is literally plastic, so they're at that stage where everything that I do as an educator will help them form their idea of what education is. And so if I can be a positive Black influence to my Black students, my other students of color, how much more of a difference could that make? And so I really wanted to take on that challenge.
Oh, that's solid. That is solid.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
He said absolutely. I love the absolutely that he's giving this today. He's like really calm.
I'm all excited.
Yeah, I guess so.
About it.
All right. So one of the questions I want to get into, and it's going to be a discussion, I'm sure. I mean, there's no yes or no on, but what do I know? Like I said, your perspective, just for how you feel about it. There are no right or wrong.
Okay.
All right. So first question I want to dive into with both of you guys. Is spanking's a form of abuse? and I'm gonna have either, and now we can from the educator's perspective. I would love to hear your perspective on that because you do not have children. However, you deal with them every day. So
yeah, it is.
You said it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's. I mean, it can be discipline, but I feel like I know for me on my end, I haven't spanked my son in like 6-7 years, and it's just because I feel like there's other methods to disciplining a child. I feel like that should definitely be like the last resort. So he knows, like, hey man, I still reserve the right to just whoop your ass, but I would like to have a conversation with you first,
right.
and see if we can get to whatever your issue is. Can we resolve this without me whooping you? because you know.
She's biting her tongue over here. I agree with you. I think that, like you said, there are too many other resorts, you know, besides hitting. And why I say that is because, first, let's talk about, is it, like, does it happen? Yes. And I think sometimes it happens, without us even thinking about it, you just like, I said stop, and you're like, ooh, hold on, you know, and it's a lot easier to just, you know, give a spanking and pop them real quick than it is to just sit there and think like, okay, how else can we resolve this? However, I think where the problem come in at is what it teaches the kid, which is why I think it's more so on that verge of, abuse is a hard word, but abuse, you know, because it's just like, okay, say you have your little Timmy, you know, if Timmy always doing the wrong thing, he never listen or whatever, and the first thing that you always do is go to hit him, you know, as he grows up, he's going to be like, okay, well, if somebody is always doing something that I don't like, I hit him.
Right.
I hit them, and that's how I get my point across. I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to express my emotions, but I do know that if somebody's doing something that's making me mad, the first resort is hit them, and they bet not hit me back, you know? And so I think that's kind of where it becomes iffy, which is why I agree that you shouldn't spank your kids. Sometimes they might need to be, you know, picked up a little bit, like, hey, I said no, you know, but yeah, when they get to that a certain age, like older and everything, I think spanking should be the last resort.
Okay. I like how you said, I'm going to point out a couple things. You said like older.
Yeah.
I'm going to notate that. Like when you get older, yes, there's a certain age where spanking is no longer effective, so to speak.
Yeah.
At 12 years old, my mom was a third-degree black belt, and at 12 years old, I challenged her and got my ass knocked down the stairs. So it's a time where you're gonna have to understand where respect lies sometimes with your parents. But as far as spankings, I don't believe in spanking children, so to speak. My grandparents raised me. My grandfather never put his hand on us. Now my grandmother was from down. It's from Arkansas, and she been business. This was extension cords. This was switches. This was house shoes. This was whatever is near, whatever is close. Make sure you duck because it's coming towards you type situation. These are the things I would not do to my own children. However, the only times I have spanked my 5-year-old, she's been spanked twice in life, and these are not actual spankings. This is more. One was a pop of the thigh because I had to get her, or whatever. It was something she was doing, messing with the dog. Something she was doing where it was going to cause her extreme harm. Now, keep in mind, this child is hard-headed. She heard you. She don't give a fuck what you just said at all. She don't care. She just heard you. I don't care. Right. I got these scissors. My sister left them out. She was doing artwork and I found these scissors. That hole looks fun. I'm going to stick them in the wall. Oh. You can sit there and tell this child as many times as you want. Don't stick that in there. Don't do that. If this child does not remember anything, she remembers me grabbing her hand and lighting that little hand up, explaining to her that you almost, you know what I mean? Because she remembers that. She remembers. She associates that with them scissors and she's cool with that. Don't do that. We understand. It don't work. Like, these kids are in daycare, and these kids who are in daycare, you know, they're not allowed to spank the children, of course, and not, you know, things like that. Right. These kids they give these daycare providers sheer hell. Yeah, because they know that you can't spank them. Exactly. So that's why. Exactly. And so with this being the case, do you think that spanking should be? I don't know. Like, so it's like something's missing. Like, they're not, like, the respect is not the same. The level of respect is not there when they know that you can't spank them. I think something changes. But then if they weren't getting spanked to begin with, they wouldn't try to push you there. You know? Because if they're like, okay, well, I know not to do this at home because mommy will spank me, but teacher can't spank me, so I'm gonna do it. But whereas if mom was like, listen, I'm gonna talk to you, I'm not gonna hit you, let's talk about this, let me explain to you why, she gonna get to school and she's not even gonna try it because mom already told her, you know? Now, there are some kids that will still push you to your limit, though, regardless. But I think that would make a big difference still, is that they know how to push your limit because they know that they can't push it at home. So they're going to try it anywhere else, you know? Whereas if it's not happening at home, it's obviously not going to be a thought at school. You know? You think timeouts and stuff are more effective? Or what's the... No. You said you don't like the... I don't believe in timeouts either. So no timeouts. No. So, okay, so a lot of people feel like that's kind of the problem with today's kids is that there's no actual physical discipline. Like, I get it. Like, our ancestors, our grandparents are, how we got to date back to respect and how respectful they are some of the most respectful people on the planet. Some people would also say the most timid at the same time. However, that's the group of no sirs, no ma'ams, yes sir, yes ma'am, and actual respect for elders and things like that. And so now you got people that they don't give a fuck. They don't care. And it's like, they cared when everybody on the block could whoop your ass.
Yeah.
Like, now they don't care anymore.
I think for me now, like, I'll raise my voice, and that it's effective at this point. Like, I still reserve the right to whoop his ass, but we also came up in a time where, like, hell, you can't blow your breath. You can't.
Yelling is now a form of abuse now. Raising your voice is raising your voice is a form of verbal abuse.
So you mean I gotta calmly tell my son I'll break up?
At this
if you
point,
don't pick this up, I'll break all this shit.
That's
calm.
That's kind of where we are right now. At this point, you have to calmly explain to them what's going on and give them options on resolve, or it's low key abuse, depending on who they're explaining it to, in the new Human Services Act and things like that, and different things that are happening for children's rights and what's recognized as traumatizing, and not. So yes, yelling at your children is like almost off the plate, right along with putting your hands on them. So,
well, I think it depends on the kind of yelling that you're doing, though. Because, like, I feel like what you were saying is more so, like, they're not hearing you. So sometimes you do need to raise your voice. Sometimes even in my 4-year-old classroom, I have to be like, hey, I said, and you kind of got to raise that voice, because just to show that dominance of, like, hey, I'm the one in charge and y'all need to hear me. Or, like, if the whole class is going crazy and, if I'm like, hey, y'all, please.
1, 2, 3, look at me.
Stop. Like, like, if the clock is not working, I got to be like, hey, I know y'all can hear me.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to need y'all to get it together, And I think that is okay. But, there is some form of, like, unhealthy yelling. Like, if that's all your kid hears, then, of course, that's going to be traumatizing. And that's all they're going to do is yell, But I think it's always hard, too, having these discussions about, like, spanking and yelling and all things like that, with Black people. Because it's just, like, that's just our culture. Our culture is we're naturally loud. Like, we can be loud. Like, right now, I feel like I'm talking very loud. And I'm not angry, I'm not mad, and but Black people are always, like, stigmatized with anything that they do anyway. And so it's just really hard, to kind of, like, especially as a Black educator, to be like, okay, yes, I agree with this philosophy, but I also understand, from a Black cultural, it's not coming from that point, like, with even calling it abuse, like, that's even hard for me to hear, like, a spanking is abuse, what, and, but it's just, like, that's engraved in our culture. And so now it's, like, education comes to, like, go against everything that our culture has taught us. Like, we are loud. You will get popped if you touch that, so it's hard to, like, find that balance too. So
right.
I mean, and with that being said, let me ask you, like, what do you feel is the most challenging part of your position?
That is one of them, definitely. Just being a Black educator in general, just because, like, the education world right now is still very much submerged into white supremacy and racism, and so it's always hard to, like, fight against that and to make sure that I'm not allowing any of that to come into, my classroom. And for me, I work in Park Hill, so most of my kids are Black. They come from the hood, and so it's just, like, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to be like, okay, I know what they're already hearing in the world, and so how can I be that difference inside of the classroom and not just be another person who yells at them, another person who makes them feel like they're not good enough, or makes them feel like, you're just bad, and that's why I said I don't agree in timeout, because a lot of times in school, what do they do when you don't do the right thing? Go get out, like, go sit on the wall, or go put your head down, and it's just like, it's challenging not to perpetuate that, because in the moment you're just like, listen, I'm trying to teach this lesson, you get on my nerves, get out, bye. But I also still have to take that step back, as a Black educator, also dealing with Black kids, of like, okay, I have to do something a little bit different so that we don't create those same mindsets of, and taking down that school to prison pipeline, things like that. Like, I constantly always having that on my mind is the most challenging part of, like, how can I make a difference every day, regardless on how I'm feeling,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which reminds me, y'all stop telling these kids the Pilgrims and the Native Americans had a disagreement. It wasn't no disagreement.
Don't say that. Teach them the truth,
genocide.
man. Yeah.
Right.
Y'all gonna send my baby home with a paper talking about the Pilgrims and the Native Americans.
Oh, and they do the little play.
Disagreement. Well, no damn disagreement. They brought them red pox blankets. Smallpox, excuse me. Smallpox blankets.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. They brought them blankets, and then the Native Americans was like, "Oh no, terrible blankets."
along the lines of the prison pipelines and whatnot. Because like as a child, I spent a lot of time. It may be hard to believe, but I spent a lot of time in detention and in the past room and kicked out of class for disrupting the class. Believe it or not. With that being said, do you think there's a such thing as bad kids?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't like to refer to kids as bad. And again, in the black culture, it rolls off the tongue very easy. He just bad. Ooh, he just need a good whooping. You know, but I don't believe that there is no such thing as a bad kid. I think that there are kids. Behavior is only communication. You know, and so if a kid is acting out, they're trying to communicate something. And it's our job as educators, as parents, as adults over the child to figure out, okay, what are you trying to tell me? Because, like, clearly something else is going on. You're not just bad, you know, like, nobody ever just wants to be seen as bad, you know. Sometimes they can be malicious, especially as they get older. They'll try to, like, push your buttons and see how far they can go. But I don't believe kids are bad. No. They're trying to talk about something. And we just kind of have to dive deep and be like, okay, what's going on here? Because usually when you think of a bad kid, you know, if you take the time to think about, like, okay, what is it like at home? What do they go through? Like, do they eat? Do they have older siblings who they see doing something wrong and maybe they just feel like that's the right thing to do? You'll see, like, patterns of, like, oh, okay, I see why you thought that stealing was okay. Because, you know, like, this is something that you just see every time. You know, like, it just happens. Like, I see why you thought that it was okay to lie because that's all you hear at home, you know? Or I see why you think that it's okay to hit people because that might be what you see at home, you know?
But you're saying that. Okay, so the hit people thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of parents and educators who don't see eye to eye on this. So, so let's see how you feel about the whole, they hit me. If a child hits another child, the child who was hit is supposed to tell someone that they were hit. They're not supposed to respond by hitting that child back. Now, now as a parent, I'm going to come back to myself last because you already know. I'm like, I think y'all know how I feel. But, like, parents and educators, I think I'm going to go ahead and let you have the parent side on this one, especially when you're the parent of a little boy. And we're going to give you the same scenario that I had in that one with my daughter that she witnessed, because she's always telling on people. She always just stand back and tell. She's named after my sister. That's what she did. She just stand back and told on me and Midas all the time. So your son gets hit by a little girl
at his current age.
This is around my daughter's 5. We're gonna give them the same. We're gonna give them the same situation and something that's your age group.
Okay, cool.
So this is where they're learning everything at home. This is where they're picking up on their mannerisms, and this is when they're sponges and they're learning how to act in things in life. Now, he's hit by a little girl. Like, she fires on him because evidently this is what the little boy was. He was mad. Now the next day when his mom was there, he's finally letting her know this is what happened. So the little boy got fired on. And he chose to hit her back because more than likely that's what he was taught. So what are your thoughts on that? Should little boys or children, period, hit kids back when they are hit, or should they go tell the teacher that they got hit?
It's tough for me because I grew up with I remember I had a little girl like hit me, and I didn't know how to feel, so I was just so hurt. And then I, went home and told my mom, and she told my grandmother, and they were both like, "Go back and hit her." And I was like, "What?"
She's a girl.
She's a girl. I feel it. So she shouldn't hit you. So I don't teach my son that. With a girl, I tell him it's more. There's ways that you can get that girl off you. If you have to grab her, if you have to, hey, back up, that do that, but don't just Tyson her out or something crazy.
Baby D, girls that are bigger than, because your son's not big. He's not a big guy. He's a little dude until he gets his puberty and growth spurt. He's a little dude. Most girls who are bullies are Rasputia.
Yeah.
They bully-ish. They bully big.
Yeah. I'm sorry, son, if you do see this. If she's Rasputia and she's Baby D and she's huge, I want to put your dukes up, man.
Self-defense?
Yeah, defend yourself. I'm sorry, man. I don't want to tell you to fight a girl, but if she's bigger than you, hey man, she has the upper hand. You got to go for what you know.
And if it's a boy, does he hit him back?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because he had a kid that just. I remember going to visit him at the school, and he had this kid like yank him down off the slide, and I was like,
oh.
Immediately I was like, because I couldn't understand why this kid did that, and it's and again the kid might have
violence is
something.
supposed to be violence is in the book.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. No, go ahead. Like, what are you? No, I'm saying, no, I'm kidding.
Woo.
And your thoughts as an educator, because I know you have to preach
Listen,
this particular practice. So
listen, okay. Okay, like it's okay. As an educator, I'm gonna stick on the educator's side, okay? Regardless on who's hitting who, yes, just get me. Because usually when they're 4 or 5, they're not like throwing dukes, usually. I've only seen that one time. Usually it's more of like a quick like stop, or it's like a give that to me. No, okay, it's one time, very much one time, one push, one punch,
time, Ike.
one bite. Yep.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
And then automatically the child is coming up to me. Oh my God. And it's so dramatic at that age. So I'm thinking like, oh my God, what happened? And they're like, she hit me where? On my arm. Okay. So things like that, I'm like, okay. I go talk, I get the one that got hit, and I get the other person. I'm like, what happened? Why did you hit her? Well, because they usually, most of the time, will have an explanation. I hit her because she cut me in line. Or I hit her because she took my toy. Or I hit her because she told me to shut up. Logical reasons. If somebody's doing something you don't like, I will move you myself, Even as grown people, we think like that. But I do take that approach of like, okay, I understand that you're upset. Always validate both sides' feelings. I know that you're mad. I would be mad too if somebody told me to shut up, or if somebody, cut me in line when I've been waiting, and then I put it on them. What other ways could we have solved this problem, besides hitting or besides punching or whatever, and they're like, well, maybe I could have talked to them, or maybe I could have, just got you. And I'm like, exactly. So yeah, I wouldn't go for the, well, okay, you hit her where? Okay, you hit her there. I'm not going to do that because again, just like the spanking, it teaches them, I can fight to get my points across. And so then you get them in first grade, second grade, up to middle school, high school, and then you wonder why they in fights. Well, because it was taught to them, if somebody touch you, touch them. Now, if it's a situation where it's genuinely self-defense of like somebody's just stealing off on them and they're like, hold on, like, then I'm like, they probably hit you because you hit them, it's like, but if it's like a one-time thing and it's not turning into anything bigger, then I'm like, no, we can talk about it. Don't hit them back.
See, that was my end of it. I didn't believe in getting bullied. So
yeah,
by the time I was 16 years old, I was already being tried as an adult in court because of all the fighting that I did.
Me also.
I didn't believe in getting bullied.
I'm from
so
Compton, though, and my upbringing. We're not gonna get into everybody knows whoever follows Midas knows my upbringing. So mine was rough. So I had to fight to survive. But so what are your thoughts on the parent who says you're instilling being a stool pigeon, a rat, in my child by making sure that they come tell somebody, an adult, every time something happens that they.
Well, that's not what I'm teaching them. At first, the first couple of times, if this has never happened before, we need to talk about it. But a lot of times, at least for me, the way that I do it is like, you need to go talk to them. Even if it's outside of hitting and somebody come telling to me, I tell them, we don't tell in here. As if you have a problem with what somebody did to you, you need to go talk to them. I rarely get into the 4-year-old drama because it's a lot. I don't have the time, So I'm just like, listen, she did what to you? Okay, what do you want me to do about it? What do you want me to do? I wasn't there. I didn't see it, So I'm like, I'm teaching them in my class right now. You have a voice. I tell them that. I'm like, you have a voice. You can talk about what's not feeling good, or if somebody did something that you don't like, you can tell them that, And so it's just like, it's not teaching them that you always have to come get somebody, but the way that I do it, and I believe every educator should do it, is teach them how to fight for themselves. So if they really, I've had situations where I tell them, go talk to them, and they're like, well, I don't know what to say. In that moment, I'll coach them to be like, okay, so what do you feel? I feel mad. Why? Because so-and-so did this. Okay, tell her that. I feel mad because you did this. And that way, you know, further down the line, I'm like, as soon as they come crying to me, I'm, go talk to her. You know, and they're in that practice of like, okay, well, and then within 2 minutes, it's like, oh, they're fine. They're running down the park again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's dope. Because parents like mine be like, don't even give them a chance. I myself was raised, I'm not going to raise my kids like this because I was raised that you don't even approach me. If I know we have a problem, you will not even have a chance to come tell me that we have that problem. If I know it, you approach me, I'm assuming you're approaching me because you're trying to run up and get done up and you want these problems.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you're approaching me to what now? Like, I already know we funking. Like, we just had a problem.
Yikes.
You're coming to approach me and I don't know why.
Violence.
Man, same. So that's what I said. That's why we need people like this. I told you, I need people like this on my side because my kid is in Taekwondo right now to whoop ass and take names. I'm just trying to teach her how to control the aggression. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a couple questions because our show we get to talking and this time goes by really quickly. But there's 2 questions I wanted to ask you just to get the educator's perspective because it's something that's kind of weighing on me.
Okay.
Now, one of the main things that we're seeing right now is that society is shifting to an all-inclusive platform where we're getting rid of pronouns. We're no longer he's and she's. We're no longer whatever we were born as. Now, we're cis whatever, or we know what I mean? So,
all of them.
At what age do you think is too young to really know who you are? Like, there's people who saying that my child is known since they were 5, that they're in the wrong body. Mm-hmm. And so by 7, 8 years old, you got kids who are, how we used to say, tomboys. Like I'm a girl. I mean, I grew up a tomboy. Like, I want to dress like a boy today. Like, I want to pull my hair back and just whatever, you know, is classified as what a boy look is. That's what I want to do today. I want to pull my hair back and wear my jeans and my tennis shoes.
Right.
I'm a tomboy. It is what it is. I want to climb poles and fight and do things like that, and catch bugs and do whatever. But I don't think I'm a boy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that was at that age. I feel like if I was raised in the type of climate that we have now, doing the things I did then I feel like society would have tried to make me feel like I wanted to be a boy. Yeah. As opposed to just wanting to do supposedly boyish things. So with that being the case, what do you say to parents who say that children that are around the same age that you teach are already aware of their gender? Like,
I think, so I'm like similar to you. You know, I grew up, I love being outside. You know, sometimes my grandmother would put me in some very boyish outfits for whatever reason. Like, we were just looking at pictures, and I have this outfit where my grandmother gave us a tie, khaki shorts, and a vest for Easter Sunday morning. And, but similar to you, it never crossed my mind to be like, well, maybe, maybe I'm the other gender, you know? I think that what has happened now is, like, society is trying to be so inclusive that they sometimes try to, like, it sometimes come off as like a push of like, as soon as they see the slightest thing, oh well, maybe
it's like 5-year-olds playing in their mother's heels are being, you know,
exactly, and
but to, like, you know, raise them as a girl. Like, well, he's been in my heels since 5. It's like, is that like something where you just look at it and say that's just a kid dressing up? Or is it really what society's saying? They're trying to let you know that they've been girls since they were 5. Yeah,
I think it's a mixture of both. Like, I honestly feel like at like around 3-ish, 4-ish, 5-ish, I think a lot of things is just very innocent, you know, in my opinion, and just based on what I've learned about the brain, like scientifically, like, if a boy, for instance, picks up a baby doll, you know, we automatically are like, put it down right now. No, you're not going to play with that. We're not going to erase that. So just you making that commentary over him, now it's in his brain, okay, boys don't play with babies, boys don't do babies, boys no. And then they grow up as a man,
absentee
and then you wonder why he's not helping with the baby, because he's been told all his life you don't do that. So I think stuff like that, I think is not more so about what they do, it's about how the parent kind of approaches it, you know. And it's like, if you like, if it's something that you just won't allow, that's completely fine. It's just about the way that you go about it. Like, no, we're not going to play in mommy's heels. What we can do is, if you like to dress up, maybe let's go get daddy's clothes and do that, you know, and that's kind of how you can do it that way. Right. But don't be like, no, like, you ain't no sissy, take them off right now, because then you automatically put that into his head of like, oh, this is associated with this, when really in his brain it was just innocent. I'm just playing. I don't even know. I hope that answered your question.
No, it does. It does. Like, because we were looking at the Zaya Wade a couple of weeks ago when I came in. Yeah. Zaya Wade had just taken her, because it's a girl now, they presents as a woman now, so had just shown her new pictures with a new lace front, makeup completely done, like totally done. And I believe she's how old is she now?
I think they're like 12 or something. Yeah,
like 14. I think this all started around 12, and so like around 12 I started doing the whole beauty trips and going to get nails done and things like that. So it's like, is that more the child knows I'm what I am, and then there's being supportive, or is there a way to being supportive to a point where toxicity, like that's like toxic supportive?
And that's just like, there's such thing. That's like another challenging thing for me too, just being an educator. Because outside of me just being an educator, like, I'm also a Christian, so that's also brings in a big tie too, because it's just like, as an educator, I'm gonna love all my kids regardless, and I'm not gonna look at anybody different, I'm not gonna do none of that different. But from like a personal perspective, it's just kind of like, is Zaya at an age where it's her choice? Yes, I think that she's old enough to know, like, this is what I want to do, and this is like who I am, and then with her being under 18 though, I think it kind of was the parents also, they had choices. They could have been like, listen, when you get out my house, then you could like kind of do all that. But they took the approach of, I'm just let her do what she want to do, kind of thing. And so I think that at an age, I think if like we were to think about like an age, I would say like maybe between 7, 8 and up. I think that's when it really comes to be like feelings and kind of like what you think you like, and like you're learning your body parts and you're starting to be curious about all that stuff. But I think like, it's hard, because as an educator it's hard, because it's just like, you have to allow the kids in the educator's perspective to just be who they are. And I have to teach them regardless, but from the personal perspective, it's kind of like, it has to be up to the parent. And you have those two options to be like, I'm putting my foot down, but then you also go against that risk though of like, well, if I tell them no, they're going to still feel that way. So then what good does it really, and then you get into all that wishy-washy stuff. Yeah.
I think it's I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, we're going to let you finish that, and then we're going to take a break, but close out your...
I think it's just, parents have to really figure out a way to navigate it, because what I've seen, the kid that you shelter from it and just push away and bad, as they get older, those are the kids that I've learned they're the most curious now, because they're not under their parents' thumb.
And then they'll resent you.
Yeah, and they want to explore all those things. And it's just some people that, like, I can say from my experience, because I was kind of exposed to pretty much everything. And my parents were able to sit down and say, hey, this is what this is. Like, I have a cousin that we knew that he was gay. And I think he came up in a time where it wasn't really okay to like say, hey, this is me. So when he finally did reveal it to me and say, hey, I happened to see him in a club dancing in a cage, and when I see him, I was like, hey, what's going on here? And he comes to tell me, he's like, well, I guess you know now. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm gay. And I was like, yeah, I knew that. That's not my point. What are you doing dancing in a cage? It's more my issue. So it's just, I think it's a way to navigate it that every parent has to learn. I can't say how it looks for this parent or that parent, but there is a way to navigate those things and kind of say, hey, this is what this is. So
it works. I'm like, we're gonna take that and go take a chance to go for a break for just a little while, and come back and finish the second half of the show. There's a few more questions we need to address with our educator. Please make sure y'all chime in the comments and let us know if there's anything that you would like us to ask on your behalf. We'll be back momentarily.
Boundaries are really essential so you're able to set respect for yourself and maintain respect from others.
This is the perfect opportunity for us to continue to grasp each other and educate each other and live for each other with peace on each other, especially on Black.
That's what's up, y'all. Welcome back. I wasn't used to having commercial breaks. That was kind of cool, actually. We had to pay sponsors. That was kind of dope. Shout out to our network and your sponsors. We really don't have that much time left. So we were like, it's a break. But I get it. We got bills to pay. I understand that completely. We just left talking about children's sexuality, and basically because that's a big thing with parents right now in this culture right now is getting used to the fact that your child has a sexual voice or an identity around 8, and that's kind of hard for a lot of us to try to understand that, especially when that identity or gender is opposite of what you think is gonna be. So around 8, 9, your little girl, who we used to say, was tomboys, might really be trying to tell you she feels like she's an actual boy, and that's kind of hard. I don't even know how I floored. I don't know how to deal with that. I think I can deal with the old school, but everybody was just gay. We were 80s babies. Everybody was just gay. You were either gay or if you were trans, it meant transvestite. It meant you dressed in other clothes. It wasn't the actual
like surgery and all that.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was just mostly transvestite was what trans meant at that time. It was just gay. And then all of a sudden it was women like, we don't want to be gay like the men are gay. We want our own gay. And so then there was the lesbian. Thus came the lesbian term. And so now we've got gay meant men. Somehow lesbian meant women. So it was like, okay, trans meant something's changed. At some point is where we, are at. And so at this point, little boys are wanting to show identities different, come to school, and identify as different genders early. Now, what I want to ask you guys about is, how do you feel about children who identify as the opposite gender playing sports with those genders?
Oh, like if he feels more like a girl,
he identifies he identifies as a girl, therefore he should be allowed to play women's sports. As a child, because it's gonna good. Because as adults, we already know what the status is with adults. Adults can do this just fine, but for this is new to us now as far as going into school nowadays. That's something that we have. So, what are your thoughts on, as someone who will have a child participating in it, as a teacher who may have to help coach and do teams and practices and things like that, and help to rear the children who are in these positions? What are your thoughts?
You got this first.
I support it because I want to see more dunking in women's basketball. That's a whole nother thing. It's tough. I think it kind of just it depends on the sport, because you don't want to. There's a trans MMA fighter who be beating ass, and I feel weird watching the fights because I'm like, but like it's coming from a testosterone place as opposed to an estrogen place. So when I watch it, I'm like, ooh, this is like that's the tough road for me in the middle of all of it, is because it's hard to say when you're like it depends on the sport. Like I want to see a whole bunch more dunking in basketball, but I don't want to see.
But we did this with swimming. We just experienced this last year with swimming, the Olympic swim team.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I just feel like
this is your son who's gonna come home one day and say, this happened, or, you know, a girl, or actually it wasn't a girl because, you know, she presents as a boy, and we were doing such and such sport, and I don't know how to interact with the locker room and with all that stuff because it's the girl on my team, and then she identifies as a boy, so the locker room and all that fun stuff.
Damn it.
It's so hard.
Yeah,
because it's like in these conversations you can never say the right thing, you know, because, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But I'm just thinking like it's not hard, but it's hard from the educator's perspective. That's what I keep thinking about, because like with me, my younger kids, they're all gonna do the same thing anyway. We don't have to worry about all of that. But as they get older, I think it has to start being more like, I personally feel like there needs to still be more boundaries, you know, to be like, yes, I understand that that's how you feel. However, biologically, this is what you are. And here, this is what we have to do. You know, like you cannot play that sport because you're not that gender, you know, and especially at that age, most of them don't get like surgery or anything like that. So then you go into what you were saying, locker rooms and bathrooms like that. Like we still also, and I think one of the biggest issues that I have is just like we also have to think about the other people, you know. It's just like you feel that way, yes, you know, but you also have to think about how these changes affect everybody else, because you don't know what people grow up with, you know, because you have so many different experiences. So, you know, like you have some people in houses telling them like this is not right, this is wrong, you know, and you have some people saying like don't associate with that, we don't do that, that's not the right thing to do. So if for you to bring, you know, this child that feels a different way, and you just are like allowing them to come in, you're disrupting this whole community also though. So you rather disrupt, let's say 15 kids to make one comfortable. And I think we sometimes have to think about that. It's just like, we want to be inclusive. We want everybody to feel comfortable. We want everybody to feel safe and loved, regardless on your beliefs when it comes to sexuality. However, let's be inclusive for all, you know. And I think like that happens a lot too, like just with like Christians in the LGBTQ plus community. It was like, you need to be open-minded for us. We want this, we want these, we want the bathrooms, we want to play the same sports, we want to do all that, make all these changes for us. But then it's like when it's opposite, it's kind of like, well, no, we don't care what you think, we don't care what you believe, we're going to disregard all of that. And so it's like, I think that we have to find that balance also still. Absolutely. To where it's not like a lot of people say pushing, you know, heterosexuality onto the other, but we also don't want to push homosexuality either, you know. So I think that that's what makes it hard for me, is just like, where can we get that balance of I respect you and I love you and I see you, you know, and I don't wish any harm on you, but also we still have to know that for so long we've only known one thing as normal. And so it's hard to just start seeing all this stuff as like, oh well, that's so and so and they identify as this, so we need to make this whole change for this one person, you know. And
I think that's like for one example would be football. You know, we all understand football and the type of contact sport it is. So it becomes a thing where, you know, if you have a girl that she wants to identify as a boy, or even a girl that wants to play football, there has to be, I feel like there has to be that understanding of, you know, this person can possibly get hit, and they could get hit hard. So is it still, hey, you can't hit them that hard, that's a girl? Or like, it's really figuring out that, okay, where are we drawing a line, or is it okay, this is how this works,
and this is the risk you're taking?
Exactly.
Because I love football. I wish I could play football, but I also know I'm not gonna get up there with a whole bunch of men, you know, like go play on the girls team, you know.
Oh, it's
Domo G.
Oh, right. Somebody, sorry. Like, we
Domo
didn't know. I'm looking around like, where is
Domo
that?
Calling you.
Nobody's phone rings like that. So my apologies, guys. Like, what is that?
That's
we all see it. Like, everybody's looking like, whose phone? Who is that? Sorry. Call back, my guy. Like, I don't know what to say.
Oh, I didn't know you was watching.
He's probably calling to let us know that we're over time. Like, I know. Like, I don't know what the fuck. I'm like, we got 2 more questions and we're getting out of here. Awkward break in the middle of all of that. So, but that question came up as well as one of the dads asked me about that one, because one of our educators couldn't make it, and she dealt with mostly with high school kids. So some of this was more for her to kind of try to field that, because a lot of these issues start coming in more around where they are. But the question for anybody that we want to address, one of the parents wanted us to make sure we asked you guys, when these kids bring home their homework and they don't understand what they brought home and they are tasked with ask your parents for help, whose fault or whose job, or however we want to word this, is it to make sure that child understands their homework? Because some people think that the educator sent them home and should have given them more instruction. Some educators feel like the parents should know more about what your child is learning. So what are y'all's thoughts on who's...
How is a parent going to know what's going on in the class? You know, for one. Because as an educator, I know how often the curriculum changes. The curriculum changes almost every year. So how can the parent keep up with what is going on unless that teacher is communicating what's going on? You know, if like for division, for instance, or multiplication, there's so many different ways that they're being taught how to solve now. Like even me now, I'm like looking at like homework. I can look at homework from like my sister in high school. I'm like, I don't know what that means, you know? And so it's just like, first of all, I also don't really believe in homework. So that's a whole nother thing. Like, but I think it falls on the educator, because it's just like the child should feel comfortable enough to take the work home based off of what y'all did in class. Homework should be a supplement to what is going on in the classroom, not just this random new stuff that's like figure it out, you know? And again, boiling back down to like dismantling that white supremacy, you don't know what goes on in the home. You don't know where some of these parents probably are not even ever at home because they work overnight. You don't know. You might get the oldest sibling who has to watch the kids, cook dinner, clean the house, get the younger kids in bed. You know, do you really think you can't just automatically assume? Ask your parents. First of all, are the parents even home? You know? And so I would say it definitely falls on the educator. And if you do send homework home, ensure your kids get it. Do it together in class or something, and then give them something else. You know? That's what I think.
Absolutely.
What do you think as a parent? Because I know your son's brought home some stuff and been like, hey.
Yeah, I've had moments where my son has brought home like math work, and it's completely different as far as how the way they're learning it and the way I learned it. So it's certain things that I'm just like, I got nothing for you here, kid. Like we're gonna get you a tutor or somebody who can help you with this portion of it. Because the way I show him and the way he learns is just completely different from what I'm used to. And that would, for me, I'm good all the way up until, percentages and so forth as far as what I can still teach him. But there's stuff that goes beyond that I'm like,
this is new.
The new math. New math is something different.
They just came up with this one.
Yeah, this is new math. We don't know about this. Okay, I get it.
And it's weird because they're not even teaching kids cursive anymore. So it's just...
I taught mine. I teach mine.
Yeah.
They're minor learners. I want her to have a signature.
How they gonna have a signature?
Right. I told mine to have a signature.
And I think that's the tough part of it is you want to be as involved as you possibly can be, but it's ever changing. So things that we might have learned are probably just completely out of tune compared to what they're bringing back home now.
Yeah. Okay.
Another parent asked, should we teach our daughters to dress less provocatively? I'm like, it was a thing that was put out there, but there's a lot of talk where there's a lot of, pro teach your son to keep his hands to himself. You know what I mean? Teach people like that, but at the same time, is there anything that we should be instilling in our daughters? Such as, for an example, not to dress super provocatively unless you expect at least some kind of response to... No?
First of all,
no. We've all seen little girls that are dressed a little at certain ages. So I mean, it's a little girl in my school. I dropped my daughter off today with a shirt that cut off right up under her chest or whatever reason going on. I'm like, why are they allowing these kids to do that? And it's like I said, it's not. She's older, so it's like at a certain point where somebody should have told her early on. Do you know that you look a little crazy with your whole body hanging out, going to school? Like, what exactly are you trying to? You're going to school. Like, why is that necessary?
I think it goes again to what we were kind of saying earlier. It's all about the commentary, and it's all about what you teach them, you know, concerning whatever you're trying to say, you know, because I think it's a big difference. Like, if you have a daughter, you know, like you said, she's older, she's like busty, got curves, whatever. It's a big difference to teach her how to dress for her body type. And being like, hey, you know, you're more of a peach shape, you're more of an apple shape. This is what can work for you. You know, like, this makes sure this complements your body. This is cute. You know, if you want to teach her, like, just dress like in a way that like upkeeps you, like to look like you at least care about yourself. Like, if you know that you're big chested, you know, it might not be the best idea to constantly wear shirts that are just overly like, you can just tell like you was over there like, they gonna go in there, you know. Whereas you could teach them that way, whereas to be like, well, why you look like you looking fast? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, you like, why you got on like them Daisy Duke shorts? Like, who do you want to be looking at you? Da, 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 da. Like, there's so, you see how there's two different complete mindsets that you're instilling into them. Am I dressing in a way that makes me feel like I respect myself and make me feel like that I just feel good and I'm gonna just wear what I feel comfortable in? Whereas dress to where a man won't look at you. Like, there's two different things. Like, and it won't make sense, because teach your son, like you said, to keep his hands to himself. Because if a man is really about that, to disrespect a woman in that way, he's gonna do it whether she's a swimsuit, whether she's in a tracksuit, whether she's in a like yoga pants, whether she's in jeans. Like, you know, you can call any like victim of rape or survivor of rape and ask them like, what were you wearing at the time? It'll go vast. It won't only be, I was wearing a crop top, I was wearing shorts, I was wearing sweats, you know, like anything like that. So I think it's just about how you're teaching them, you know, like, no, don't be out here dressing all crazy like you just don't care about yourself, or that looks, you know, just like not attractive. But don't teach them that you need to dress a certain way so that a man won't look at you a certain way, because he's gonna look regardless, really.
Right. And I agree with that. I definitely say teach your sons to not be horny toads.
Right.
Because I remember in middle school, you know, the girls that were already developed, and, you know, and it didn't matter what they wore. There was those boys that would try to just do too much, you know. So I definitely feel like girls should be comfortable in their own skin with whatever they wear. Yeah. But the boys on their end definitely need to learn self-control and understand that it doesn't matter how a woman or girl or whatever is dressed. You still have to respect that person's space and boundaries and who they are as an individual.
So you said that person, not an object.
Right.
And that's a big thing too. Not just looking at them as, oh, that's sex right there. That's just a sex object, you know. Yep, I agree.
A lot of y'all miss out on having some really cool friends in school and in adult life by being just too damn horny. So get that in control soon, fast, early.
Right now.
So right now,
not later.
Together, man.
And the last question that I have for you is actually inspired by a Facebook post, and I couldn't participate because I was in jail. I'm always in jail, but this part I was unable to comment and unable to like, because I just had to watch them have this whole debate without me. But what they were going back and forth about was sending your kids to school sick. It was so. Listen, how sick is sick? From a parent, from an educator versus from a parent. What is sick enough, or whatever? Is there how sick does your child need to be for you to keep them home from school?
Listen, this is triggering me because this is what I'm going through right now. Listen,
man.
I literally had to send an email last week. Listen to me. Sickness spreads. If your baby is sick, leave him home. Please, leave him home.
Thank you.
Like, what sense does it make? You don't want to deal with your kid because they're irritable. They don't want to sit down. They all this. So you bring them to me when I have 15 other kids who gonna be acting the same way, but yours is worse because he's sick everywhere. And then you got them like 4-year-olds. Are you joking? It's everywhere. Hands always in the mouth. Like, you're just spreading it, super spread it.
Exactly.
Keep them home. And like, I know it's hard. Like I'm not a parent, so I don't like completely understand the whole ins and outs of finding babysitters and all that stuff. But I am a sibling. I'm the oldest of 7. So I get, you know, when you're just like, listen, I don't have nowhere for this baby to go. I need to go to work. I can't call off. I get that. Things happen. But if you have the means and the availability to keep your child at home, keep your child at home. Because all you're doing, your baby might get better, But as soon as your baby got better, guess who else he got sick? All 15 of the
All
other
15
kids
other kids,
and
exactly.
the teachers. Like, and now can't nobody come to school because everybody's sick.
Yeah.
Keep them home. Runny nose, keep them home until it's better.
Oh, I fully support it. And it's just because my son is homesick this week for the fourth time since the beginning of the school year. Keep them home. I get that we have everyone has different circumstances, but keep your kids home if they're sick. My son's school almost had a hand, foot, and mouth disease outbreak because somebody,
almost we did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, and it's just like, why would you send your child to school? They're miserable because they have all these bumps and sores in their mouth, everywhere, and you would send them to school like that. So someone else's kid, and so my kid's school calls me to tell me that he's been in contact with the student, and of course they're not going to tell us who the parent is, but I'm like, the parent should be. There should be something said to this parent. Y'all have to take action because this can be a complete breakout. And what a lot of people don't realize is, like, my mother didn't even realize it. She thought it was just something that kids under a certain age got. No, adults can get it. You can get it at any point in time in your life.
And adults get it worse.
Exactly.
Than kids.
Exactly. So it's like,
disgusting.
What? I don't even know what this is.
It's like little blisters on your hands, foot, and in your mouth.
And you develop them everywhere. And
Very
you get
contagious.
them inside your mouth. Super contagious. Adults can get them,
and they can leave scars after you. It's like chickenpox, but worse. And it's only on your hand, foot, mouth, in your mouth.
Chickenpox on roids, basically.
Sounds like syphilis.
I don't know what syphilis feels like, but
I'm
I don't know what hand, foot, and mouth
I'm
disease
in
feels like.
I'm in healthcare.
Kid syphilis.
All right, it sounds like
syphilis having a kid at home.
Sound like syphilis junior is what that sounds like.
So I think it's just
It's common courtesy.
Yeah.
Mine catches flack because Zariah has really bad allergies.
Mm-hmm.
So, see, that's
so
if you know
when
allergies,
the seasons change,
understandable. Yeah.
as soon as the seasons change, she's so we're going over her, make sure you cover your mouth and you're this, that, third. Yeah. She refuses to wear the mask. She's 5, so when you put the mask on and stuff, but you still get the same arguments. But why would you send her to school? Like, because I'm fully aware my child is not sick. She has allergies. Like, you can't catch what she's got. Her problem.
She gave me allergies.
Right, you can't catch her problem. She got you like every fall and spring. You're gonna catch her doing this same thing. Catch her in March. It's coming. You're gonna see this again in March. Yeah. So,
I would send my elementary school into a panic because when I was younger, every time the season changed from hot to cold, I'd get a nosebleed.
Oh.
So it's bad. Well, I mean, it used to be. So they would just go into a complete panic and be like, "What's wrong with your child?" And it's like, nothing's wrong with me.
Bleeding everywhere.
Yeah, don't send him to school like this. Like,
please don't.
It's summertime. I'm sorry. I don't.
It's hot, and you're like, I just need some water, please,
right,
somebody.
Just give me a cold towel or something.
Oh,
So yeah, but I guess that was the main thing. And this question came from a parent whose child has allergies, kind of like mine. They're like, well, I mean, I sent him to school. No, he's not sick, but they present as sick. So it's kind of hard to know. And then you got there was some of the perspectives. Like I said, I couldn't participate in this conversation. I had to just watch it happening without being able to chime in. But there was another perspective where they said, my child pretends to be sick in order to stay home. So if you say you sick and you stayed up all night playing video games and you're not presenting as sick, if the morning, if you felt well enough to stay up all night, then you feel well enough to go to school. So whether you're sick or not.
And we check, like, I don't know about every other school, but like if a child tells us they're not feeling good, we do all the checking. Like, okay, let's check your temperature. Is your nose running? Are you coughing? We know our kids. Well, we know our students. I be calling them my kids, but like I can tell if this child is not acting right. I know that they're sick, or if they just pulling my leg. So I think in instances like that, it's just like, don't let the child get over on you, But it's like, and we know like when a child is really sick. But what really gets me though is when they're like, oh, he was sick all night. Like, they were sick with them. But then, like, oh, but he was fine this morning after his shower. No, he wasn't. And he wasn't. Like, if he was sick with you last night, what make you think he's better today for school? Tell me.
This is miraculous.
Like, all of a sudden he woke up. Oh, he was fine. No, he wasn't. Because the kids still, good morning. Like, leave him at home. Leave him at home. Please leave him at home. Because if I get sick, it's going to be a problem.
That part. And she's got the littlest of the carriers.
The littlest.
They're the super carriers.
Super carriers.
They are walking germs.
And they don't care. They just give me a hug. Like, ooh. nap time.
Mm-hmm. Kids is notorious for that shit.
It's nasty.
Kids are gross.
Nasty.
Kids are gross.
Nasty.
Teacher, yes.
Hey,
Come at me.
let me see your pencil. This my friend, and they love to hug each other. That's their favorite
And
thing to do,
everything
is to
goes in
show
their mouth.
love to
Everything.
each other.
Yes.
Everything.
I got this for you. Like,
Everything. My youngest just licked her sister for no reason. Just came up, just licked her.
That's just how she
licked
loved
right here. For no, she was
Yeah.
she was mortified, but I'm just saying the little weird thing kids do. Like, why would you do that? She just walked up to her, just randomly licked her. So we're like, whoa.
It'd be like that sometime, I guess.
They're gross. I mean, that's all the questions I have for our educator without children. I hope you guys were enlightened. Do you have any other questions that you would like to answer before we get out of here?
Is there any particular advice that you give to parents? One of the things I do see often is sometimes the teachers and the parents feels there's a disconnect between the time the child is at home and the time the child is at school. Is there any advice that you can give to parents on that end as far as a way of communicating?
I would say you need to have communication with one another. The educator needs to be in communication with the family. Family needs to be in communication with the educator. There needs to be a relationship there. But just like every relationship in life, it has to be a healthy relationship.
Absolutely.
It cannot be a healthy relationship of parent constantly getting on the teacher about what the teacher is doing. Because I know how to do my job, just like you know how to do your job. I'm not going to teach you how to parent. You're not going to teach me how to teach, you know? And so if there's ever conflict, and you usually see this when there's conflict, you know, it's like, oh, well, my child needs this and this. I'm with your child 40 hours every week. I know what your child needs. What we can do is we can sit together and be like, well, when Timmy acts out like this is what we try at home. Maybe you can try this at school. Or when Timmy acts out at school, this is what we try. Maybe you could try it at home. It needs to be...
At home we beat Timmy.
No. And that's why Timmy running in here acting a plump fool now, because you know I can't beat him. He's like, can't give me now, like, no.
I support it.
No. Because then as soon as I'm like, you know what, Timmy, sit down. Then you coming at me, you want me to lose my job. But I'm like, they do it at home? No.
I'm going to ask you, well, what did Timmy do?
Exactly. Let's talk about it.
See,
I'm gonna give you
this is the belt I use at home here.
My daycare provider, Miss Gaddison, love Miss Renee, that whole family, the Gaddisons are dope. They raised half our family. Like they had these kids when they was born until they matched out. You know, they timed out age wise. They aged out of daycare with them. Some of these kids are now 20 on down, so they've raised years on top of years of our family, generations. And so when mine were with her, we're family now. So and I'm trying to convince her, like, hey, beat they ass, I like smack her. My daughter does something, and she's because
drag her.
You're like let her know, get loud, make her feel like you me, like just scared, make her scared, put the fear of God in her, like I would do with my child, because otherwise this one here is gonna test you. She's gonna test you because I can fix it with a face. You can do that face, and she looking at you like, what is that gonna do if you give me the face, bitch? Your face means nothing to me. So I'm just like putting this child in the corner. My child will sit there and think of all the little things that she can do when she gets out of the corner. So it's like you in timeout. Her timeout is just time to sit there and plot on what she's going to do.
What she going to do next? As soon as she get up, she be like, okay, what's next? Who's next? Go.
Yeah, that was me, because I know I know the child I made. She's a little me. They used to put me in past room, kick me out of class, do whatever they could have done to possibly.
But see, you communicated that to the educator. So now the educator will know how to navigate it in the classroom. See, healthy communication.
They do the same thing that my teacher used to do. My teacher used to try to get mad and be like, you talk too much. And I do. They be like, well, you must want the attention. And I do.
About then.
They're like, well, you want to teach the class? And I will. So I'm the person that I'll be like, well, shoot. And I will. But at this point, they started the same thing with her. Your teachers, there's something you want to say, and she'll get up and say, well, actually, she'll give her little dissertation, whatever it is she's trying to do, and then she'll sit down and they just laugh, because every day she's got a different topic that she needs to go ahead and get off her. So
why don't the teacher give her that space then? Be like, okay, so then we're gonna give you a little project. You want to talk so much here? study this and present it to the class, you know, or give the class a morning message every day, you know.
Maybe cat dog, this, that, the third.
My
My mom
goodness.
bought strawberries. Like, okay.
And what does that have to do with the cat dog?
Absolutely nothing, but she did. They're like, oh, thank you. I'm like, thank you. And
Not
just
me.
going.
I only pull that shit with substitute teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to all the substitute teachers. Y'all deserve better. I'm sorry that we acted like our teacher was never coming back, so we just acted a plum damn fool with y'all and
I'm
said
scared.
stupid shit. You don't know my life.
I'm afraid of
That
the
was
shit
the
that's gonna
dumb-
happen to me because the things I used to do as a child. Like, I'm really, really afraid.
It'll
Like,
come back to you through your kids, probably.
man, the songs I used to make. Like, I'm a person who was class clown and student council president. So it's
Oh.
like, it's a horrible.
Yeah.
It's a horrible combination when you're the joker who has access to the school. So I can still
Right.
get on the PA. I can do all these things that student council members can do. I'm the third chair in the band, so I got access to the band room and all the
wow.
instruments. And so what do? Write a song and teach the whole school and get on the stage and perform it. And that's what I did. I had a teacher named Mr. Shawaga. Whoever knows me, I wrote a song called Mr. Ugly Man. Because Shabba Ranks was dope at the time.
Oh.
So it was Mr. Ugly Man, Shawaga, and the whole school knew it. I taught it to the school and I played the piano.
Or Mr. Schwaga.
Hey, there was Psycho Eye. That was our teacher. That was my English teacher who had a crooked eye. Like, because Married with Children had the Psycho chick, so I rewrote it for her. It was Psycho Eye.
Psycho dad and
Well,
psycho mom.
Yeah, it was Psycho Eye. though. Psycho Eye. She's Psycho Eye. See, the thing was, Miss Lanning had a crooked eye.
Wow.
So, I mean, and then the eye would, when she was doing her paperwork, the eye would look at you while she was grading. And it was like, you know, I lacked the maturity to have a teacher like that. So it was just like, I didn't do it. Mr. Shawaga told us he spanked his son with a hot monkey's tail. Don't tell me stuff like that. I can't do it. And then me and him, we just made up an African chant. We just all had different parts. And sadly, I was a conductor. So my whole job was that I gave everybody a certain part. And I just pointed to them when it was their turn. So it was so somebody was designated with so when she started doing that, somebody else come like in the back and the whole class had their own, and I would point, and when I pointed, it was a whole.
That's
There
why
was a point where I just stopped.
Right
I started
there.
collecting my referrals, and my daughter ever sees it, y'all. So it's a thing I have. It's a book of referrals that I used to get. I used to just keep them because they used to write. Mr. Shawaga had a referral waiting for me when I walked in. Like, I didn't even do nothing. I came in. He said, "Chewing gum, get out!" Like, what? I didn't even. So it was to the point where I just started collecting. I'm like, man, forget it. So I would go hang out in the office, and I would be everywhere in the school except for in class because of the fact that I was
Mr.
bored.
Schwager.
Once I finished my work, it was a problem. So
See, they probably should have put you in advanced classes.
I was in advanced classes. I'm on the extract. There's only so much you could do with me. That's it. Was like, damn it. They moved me into a class with my twin because I had told so many substitutes that I was her instead, and that you got the wrong sister and all this. So they just finally just started putting us in the same room so they could know both twins are here because they're in the same class. Don't let this one say something crazy to you. I changed my name to Lola Sea Monkey in the 5th grade, and I put my name in the book like that. I put it in the book, so when the people came and they're taking grade, they get to it and they're actually calling me, and they're like, "What the?"
Because how did you even get the grade book?
Exactly. That's why I said I have so much coming for me that the karma that's stacked up for my behind is like unreal.
I
I'm
think
afraid.
maybe you needed like more extracurricular.
I had extracurriculars.
Oh.
Understand that I was a person in the past room. Mr. Shannon taught me all the Omega Psi Phi steps. I've learned all
Not
of their
your cute
steps.
dog.
All of that. I learned all of that
What?
stuff just because I just had nothing else better to do. I got so used to being in there. I got accused of stuff that I wasn't even there for. I was so bad. They started a lunch. They started a food fight, and I got all the blame when I was in pass room. But I still got blamed for being the orchestrator of the food fight. She planned it. She did it.
She might not have been there, but the plan is somewhere.
So I'm afraid for what's coming for me because I was class clown, student council president. You know what my daughter's doing right now? Student council. I am now their student council advisor at the school. So that's where my life is going back to.
Ooh, it's going full circle.
High school and middle school.
She's gonna make a
student
song in a
council.
minute.
It's gonna be, and I'm afraid because I was bad. But I had great grades. That's the only thing that saved me. But I was a bad kid. You're saying there's no
but
bad
you're not
kids.
bad.
I went to school at MLK in the 90s. Understand that.
Well, when you put it that way.
I know you're watching Stephen Germany. I know you're watching Stephen Germany. Now, Stephen Germany was infamous for our school was so bad that it was on prime time. You remember that special they did on Martin Luther King Middle School? And you can Google it. You can probably look it up, see if it's on YouTube. But student count. It was a Prime Time did a whole special about us because of how bad it was, and they got one of our students was the ringleader in the thing, and that was Stephen Germany. And I don't know where he is today. I don't know what came of that, but his debut to the world was showing how bad kids can really be. So I see there are no bad kids, and I raise you there's terrible adolescents. So if they're not bad kids,
I went to West Middle School. All the kids, even the kids with straight A's were bad. Like, we were just terrible.
They're not bad, y'all. It's not bad.
Okay,
my kid better not never.
Like,
the way that
y'all needed some other stimulants, like maybe.
My kid better not never. We was bad. I'm gonna take accountability. I was a badass kid. I expect badass kid karma to come from mine. So I'm trying to fix it now. The physicality that I passed on to my loudmouth one, because she the one she's my twin. I mean, you gotta see yourself somewhere. So she is my twin. My sister got hands, but nobody would expect it because she's so quick to use her words to resolve things. Now she's not always like this. She's a Cancer. She snaps, but my daughter is her. So sometimes you're going to get her talking to you. I don't like that. But you're only going to get so many I don't like that before it turns into.
I said I don't like it.
I just told you, I don't like it, but you're going to get 2 and then a swing for sure. So she's in Taekwondo. I'm trying to teach her how to channel some of that and learn how to control some of her things. I don't want her to reap what we've done. I had to learn my sister was like that out of seeing that she's like that. You know what I'm saying? So we'd be like, oh, she snaps. Oh, okay. Okay. Man. This is what we're dealing with. But I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to actually point out that hopefully parents got a lot of insight from her. I did. She helped me to learn some things about parenting that I didn't really think about handling situations with my kids. Because like I said, I was raised choosing violence. I was raised choosing violence. And, and basically respect is key. Somebody put your hands on you, somebody hit you, you hit them back twice as hard. That's how I was raised. So I'm going to try to not instill that in my kids, but
she's like, eventually.
I'm sorry, son, whoop some ass. That's all I can say.
I know, but
try your words first. That shit don't work, then whoop some ass.
Words first. Yeah, I told my daughter never started, but don't ever be afraid.
Oh no, but if you gotta finish it, finish it.
Yeah.
But don't start it. Don't start it.
So, but hopefully we learned today that acceptance starts early. People that would
woof. Goodness.
Off camera drama. Acceptance starts early. You start looking for signs that your child may or may not. Actually may have some questions about, who they are and who they want to be and where what their body is doing around 8 or 9. So for people who are saying 12 to 14 is a little early, actually it might be a little late.
Might be a little
they might already know around 8 or 9. So as far as sports, try to be supportive in whatever sport they want to play. If you're teach your son not to go after. My Bello had that. We had a girl who played football when I was in high school. So she wanted to play on the team, but the team actually, the boys took that as made her a whole target. Their whole thing was like, oh, well, if you're going to play, then now I get to hit. Yeah, I'm about to definitely hit you and rock you since you want to be out here with the boys. So just understand that you definitely put your child in that harm's way to be a target in those situations. They, she's kicker, and you on the field, you know what I'm saying?
We had a female kicker at Smokey too.
Yeah. So but this one wasn't a kicker. She was in the line with everybody else. We gonna rock.
Oh, she was like actually on there.
Yeah. So and it was old school rules, so it wasn't all the the stuff they have now where they're like, no, you know what I'm saying? You can't touch the kicker. Yeah. Roughing the kicker, roughing the passer, none of that. We're at you. We're at that.
Wow.
Also, let me see. Teach your kids, keep your hands to yourself early, especially if they're younger. Start trying to teach them to keeping their hands to themselves both ways will save a lot of problems. Yep. Girls, keep your hands off the boys. Boys, keep your hands off the girls. Also, your child running around with heels or something on or playing in the opposite sex clothes at a young age might just be that they're playing dress up at a young age. Don't start making assumptions and trying to steer them in any certain way or gender would be the best bet on that. Saying things like he's known that he's a girl since he was 5. Probably not. Probably not. He just knows he likes mom shoes and they look pretty cool. Yeah. and they're pretty fascinating. They're a little different. They like them. They like the way heels sound clacking on the floor. There's a lot of different things you have to take into account as a 5-year-old. And essentially, I guess that's all I say. The educators know just as much about raising your kids, if not more, because they spend just as much time, if not more.
If not more. All y'all coming up late, pick up your kids.
And a lot of y'all, especially the weekend dads, weekend moms. Your educator probably knows a lot more about your child than you do. So
Exactly.
there's that little tidbit there.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else you want to say before we head up?
No, that's it. You covered all the bases.
I want to thank Diamond for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
For the enlightenment and whatnot. Make sure that you guys don't follow her unless she wants to be followed. Chill out. You want to be followed?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Run it up.
What's your stuff?
Just don't come for me for anything that I said. I'm not the face of education.
Nah, nobody's coming for you.
Okay, you can find me on Facebook at Diamond Larisha, I believe. My Instagram is real.bosslady14. And that's it. That's all y'all need: Facebook and Instagram.
You got any personal ventures or anything like that they can support, or you're teaching full time? Or
no, I teach full time. I do sometimes have a small dessert business called the Boss Kitchen.
Okay.
Sometimes it's very inconsistent, but you can put in an order. That's Boss KITC 2020.
Okay.
On Facebook and Instagram.
I love that. She said I got one when y'all order something.
When you
don't
something,
order it,
when
I don't
feel like it.
I love it.
It depends. What do the people want? If the people want it, I got it.
I love it. That's what's up. I want to thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of But What Do I Know podcast. You can follow me if you want to, but I'm on hiatus. You're only going to find me on the R YouTube channel. But that part. But if you would just want to follow me and see me post absolutely nothing, I'm on RUKUS 303 on Facebook and Instagram.
Don Trey Smith on Facebook. Womack was here 83 on Instagram. And I still don't remember my Twitter, so there's that. Sorry.
All right. Thank you guys. Tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye. Peace.